Hey everyone, welcome back to Coinstale. What we have here is 1981 double dollar proof sets published by Mint, and this is for the 100th anniversary of the Act of Parliament, which gives the permission to construction of the Canadian Railway, the Trans Canada we have. Let's explore the train here, and we have Keith. Hey Keith.
Bienvenue à ExpoRail. Welcome to ExpoRail. You know, we train guys, we come in all different shapes and sizes, and so do our trains. This live steamer in the cabinet behind me was built by some guy in his basement for probably 2,000 or 3,000 hours of work on it, and it is 1/8 the size of a full-size locomotive, but there's everything that's on this you will find on a full-size locomotive. It's coal-fired, steam-powered. You got a little firebox door back here. You'd have a shovel about the size of a tablespoon to shovel the coal into it as you were running it. You would sit up on a seat on the tender and it could pull cars behind you as well. And I'd show you what's in the cab, but it's awful dark, so let's go in the cab of 713, the mogul over here, and I can show you what's actually inside a steam locomotive.
Okay, let's go there.
So 713 was a mixed traffic mogul type locomotive built in 1900 by Grand Trunk at the Point St. Charles shops. And it could pull passenger trains down short lines and branch tracks, or it would pull freight trains, and did a lot of mixed freight operation and local freight operation, where we'd be dropping off cars at every factory along the way. We head up into the cab. I'll just point out the tender behind on this one. That's why a locomotive can't sit down, because it's got a tender behind. And this carries 6,000 gallons of water and 10 tons of coal. And in a 100-mile trip, somebody's going to shovel that 10 tons of coal. And the 6,000 gallons of water, you're going to stop 2 or 3 times to fill it up. Once we get into the cab, the biggest part of the locomotive is the boiler, which is full of water. You've got a water gauge here. And I'll talk about the fire first. The fire in there, if you go down, you can see the tubes up in the front of the firebox. They go right through to the smokestack at the front. And the smoke goes through those tubes, and they're completely surrounded with water, and that's what makes the water boil. Now, boiling water on your kettle at home is 100 degrees Celsius. Once you get the pressures you need in a steam locomotive, you're getting up pretty close to 200 degrees Celsius. At 180 pounds pressure, you're pretty close to 200 degrees Celsius for the water. So that would make this a very hot place to work. And in the wintertime, you'd be baking from this side and freezing from this side. So that's why there's curtains around this in the wintertime, to at least keep it warm all over. As I said, most important is keep the water in it. There's a steel plate right here on top of the fire. If that gets exposed to the fire with no water on it, it immediately melts, and the boiler will be found a kilometer from here, and everybody in the cab will be killed. So you've got a water gauge here with a large safety factor of how much water is there, even if the gauge is empty. You want to run the water level there. You have 3 different pumps on the engine. You have a mechanical steam pump, and you have 2 injectors that put a jet of steam into cold water, and that gives the water enough kinetic force to pop itself into the boiler. You also have these 3 valves that also check the water level. This one must always be dribbling water. This one can be dribbling either water or steam. Gives you an idea of the level. And if this one is dribbling water, it means you're too high and you risk the water going up into the cylinders. The throttleman, the engineer, would sit on this side. He's got controls for sand, brakes, whistle, forward, reverse, bell. And he would pretty much sit there. On the other side, you have 2 seats, because oftentimes you'd have a backup fireman, because it's his job to shovel that 10 tons of coal into that little hole.
So this is the other side?
This is the other side. This would be the fireman's side. He also will have, I got to confirm this before I say yes, that same valve you'll find on both sides, because this is the injector. The other side is also the injector. The 2 of them put water into the boiler. There's also a steam pump on that.
It's a very contrasted place, Steve.
This was a very Wonderful place to work, except that you realize you're sitting half in a sauna and half in an ice bath. Very dirty, very noisy. Most engineers would be deaf after blowing the whistle and everything else. And nothing is CNESST approved, Workplace Health and Safety approved. The seats here are rather luxurious, actually, on this one. But when you compare this to the diesel locomotive we saw in the other video, the diesel is almost like sitting in an office. Here you're on the factory floor, and things are happening. And every bit of power this engine develops is given by the back of the fireman who's here shoveling coal.
So here there will be 3 people working continuously to get.
1 or 2 people shoveling coal, depending on the run.
Okay.
There's actually a story of one of the most powerful locomotives in the world where the automatic stoker broke. They had 3 firemen. The engineer said, let's not lose schedule. We'll all go at it. And they took turns running and shoveling. And they did 28 tons of coal in an hour and a half, but they got the engine over the Blue Ridge Mountains and into the terminal on time.
Do you know like where this train goes? Usually like in the back time?
I'm not exactly sure what run this one was assigned to when she was in service.
Okay.
She was Grand Trunk, which became Canadian National in 1923. And she was withdrawn from service, I think 57 or 58. A lot of engines were coming up to boilers because boilers had been done immediately right after the war. Some of them had been put off because of the metal shortages. So a lot of engines got reboilered 46, 47, 48, which means they all came to expiration 56, 57, 58, and they were replacing with diesels anyway, so they never got reboilered.
Okay. It's nice information. So thanks, Keith, for helping us. And don't forget everybody to like and subscribe. See you next time.